Okay, Arnie, we're all set.
Great, and welcome everybody to the May 21st, 2025 meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission. We will open this evening with the roll call. Mr. Chiocchio?
Here.
Ms. Hofstetter?
Here.
Mr. Sylvain?
Here.
Mr. Haas?
Here.
And Chairman Finaldi is here. Okay. All present and accounted for. That's good. The first item on our agenda is the acceptance of the minutes of the May 7th, 2025 meeting that were distributed via email. Unless there's any comments or corrections, I will entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
Mr. Chairman, motion to accept the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chiocchio. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are accepted. Let the record show our next meeting is scheduled for June 4th, 2025. And before we move to our first public hearing, I'll read the Zoom intro. This meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission is being held on Zoom as a virtual meeting. Even though this meeting is a virtual meeting, members of the public and interested parties continue to have the opportunity to participate in the meeting in a couple of different ways. You can participate via Zoom and see the audio and the video, or you can call in by phone and participate via audio only. Please be aware that we may have to mute your microphone or telephone to avoid an echo or some other background noise. Instructions on how to participate in the meeting appear on the City of Danbury website, and all the documents and materials that apply to the matters to be discussed during this meeting, including the agenda, are also available on the City of Danbury website. As always, if you have any questions regarding how to participate in the meeting, please contact the City of Danbury Planning and Zoning Department. As a reminder, the entire meeting will be posted on and can be seen on the City of Danbury website. We will follow the posted agenda as per standard practice. If prior to the meeting, any questions or comments on agenda items were submitted via email to the Planning and Zoning Department, those comments will be read during the appropriate portion of the meeting. Finally, please remember that technology glitches sometimes do occur. Please be patient if that happens. The first item on our agenda this evening, and our only public hearing, is item 1, JAR Associates LLC, application for special exception site plan approval for 1, metal fabrication, section 6A2B11, 2, indoor and outdoor storage of construction equipment, section 3E4, 6A2B15, 3, indoor and outdoor storage of building materials, sections 3E4, 6A2B16, and 4, warehouse use, section 6A2B19 in the IL40 zone, 4 Lemak Avenue, K14122, special exception number 796. I will read the legal notice for this matter. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission of the City of Danbury will hold a public hearing commencing at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, in a web-based meeting hosted on Zoom to consider the following matter. JAR Associates LLC, application for special exception site plan approval for 1, metal fabrication, section 6A2B11, 2, indoor and outdoor storage of construction equipment, sections 3E4 and 6A2B15, 3, indoor and outdoor storage of building materials, sections 3E4 and 6A2B16, and 4, warehouse use, section 6A2B19 in the IL40 zone, 4 Lemak Avenue, K14122, special exception number 796. A copy of this application is on file in the Planning and Zoning Office for public inspection. Parties and interested citizens shall have an opportunity to be heard at this time. The meeting agenda will be posted, to be posted will include instructions on how to access the Zoom meeting and application materials or view the meeting in real time on YouTube. Arnold E. Finaldi, Jr., Chairman. Posted on City website and Town Clerk's office on May 6, 2025. Published in the News Times on May 9th and May 16, 2025. Purchase order number 2025-503. With that said, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? My apologies. Attorney Beecher. Is he here? There he is.
Just muted.
There you go.
Good evening, everybody. For the record, Tom Beecher from the Collins Hannafin Law Firm, and I represent JAR Associates LLC. JAR is the owner of the property and the applicant for the special exception and site plan approval. With me tonight is Ben Dodo, who's the project engineer on this project. In a conversation this morning with Ally, we were joking around, and Ally said to me that it's been a bit of a bumpy ride for us before we finally got in front of all of you, but here we are finally. This property's 2.5 acres, and it's located in the industrial IL40 zone. JAR also owns 2 Lemack Avenue, which abuts this property, and that's where the DMV facility is. The property is otherwise surrounded by the Still River and railroad tracks. Currently, there's a 10,000 square foot building on the site. This application is to put a 10,000 plus square foot addition onto that building, and also to get permission to build a new 12,300 square foot warehouse building to the rear of the property. We don't have a tenant yet for that particular building, so I suspect there's going to be some delay between the construction of the addition to the existing building and construction of the new building on the rear of the site. As you may recall, during the department reviews of our prior application, the city engineering department discovered that there was a city sewer main located along the northerly side and rear of this property. There were no recorded easements for this sewer line, nor was there any recorded map showing this particular sewer line. So the city engineering department worked with Ben to actually locate the sewer line and worked cooperatively with us in our redesign of the site to avoid the sewer line. So as you know, we withdrew that prior application, and Ben did redesign the site to accommodate the city sewer main. The proposed building has now been shifted southeasterly away from the sewer main, and we had to go back to the ZBA for an additional variance of the sideline setback towards the DMV site in order to accommodate all of this. We received that variance, and in addition to the prior variances that we have, we were in a position to finally come back to see all of you. With respect to the sewer lines, we're fine with the condition of approval to require us to provide an easement to the city for those lines 50 years after the fact, but as the saying goes, better late than never. As you're aware, we received approval from the EIC for this project and also for the modification to shift the project away from the sewer line. As you can see from the plans, and also it's in Ally's report, there's going to be plenty of parking on the site for the uses that we've requested. Also, the front yard of this property is currently entirely paved and used for parking. We are proposing to have a planted area within the first 15 feet from the road, which will be certainly an improvement. A new 5-foot wide sidewalk will also be installed. With that and the fact that the parking would no longer occur within that 15-foot planting area, this property will look much better than it does today, and it will be also more in compliance with the zoning regulations. Ben's going to address some of the comments in the reports we received from city officials. I would just point out that the building department was fine with this application, and Rob Barone from Construction Services had no comments or concerns. So with that, Ben, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, Benjamin Dodo, licensed professional engineer. This project, as Tom had just mentioned, we withdrew the previous application because of that sewer line discovery. So one of the things that I did when we resubmitted, I didn't treat it as a new application. We had received comments from staff with the original application. So in addition to the revisions that we made, we also did a complete response to all outstanding staff comments from the original application that were still applicable, which were basically most of them. So when I do go over some of the comments in the letters, you'll see they're relatively minor and few compared to a new application, and that's why. There's basically been a round of revisions, even though this is the opening of a public hearing. So just a couple things. I'm going to share my screen in a little bit. And in addition to the improvements that Tom had mentioned, we are making some other improvements to the site. The existing main driveway that's to the south end, that's closest to the DMV, we're widening that driveway and putting a second egress lane. So people queued at that driveway are going to have the ability to get in the left lane if they're turning left, and the right lane if they're turning right. We're removing the parking that Tom mentioned in front of the building, but there's also an old driveway that it's a sort of a secondary driveway on the west side of the site, or northerly side of the site, closer to the Triangle Street intersection. We're completely closing that driveway permanently. That driveway is a little close to the intersection, and so that driveway will be closed. Making some drainage improvements to the site. Ironically, with this site, we're actually reducing our impervious area on this site, and that's basically reflects a lot of the landscape improvements that we're doing and removing the parking from the front yard. We are putting in new pedestrian ramps at the Triangle Street intersection. I'll show you that on the plan in a little bit. The site does not contain the floodplain. The floodplain here is confined off-site to the Still River banks. Both buildings are set well above the 100-year floodplain elevation, and there's no work in the floodplain or related to it. The front building, Building A, sits about 5 feet above the 100-year flood zone, which again is off-site and down the bank. This portion of the Still River was part of the river that the Army Corps channelized 50 years ago. Actually is one of the reasons why the sewer line was moved. But, and is also one of the reasons the 100-year floodplain is contained in it. We have excellent sight lines to the site. We have in excess of 500 feet to the left, and to the right, our sight line is about 400 feet. And that's basically to the intersection. The outdoor storage area will be fenced and screened. And Tom had already mentioned the landscaping. So I'm going to Tom had mentioned that the building department was okay and the construction services were okay. The fire marshal had a letter dated 4/21, and he had questioned whether the rear building was going to be sprinklered or not. I had left him a message. We missed each other, but he called me back. I pointed to a different plan that he probably didn't see. The rear building will be sprinklered. That was a question that when you look at the site plan, you don't see the sprinkler line, but on the grading and utility plan, it is. Construction Services has signed off on this, Rob Barone. Basically, he had a list of outstanding comments with the first submission. They were mainly related to installing new sidewalks across the entire frontage of the site, which our original plan did not have. We were just repairing and patching missing sections. So the entire length of the site will contain new sidewalks, and we're replacing a catch basin as well. Traffic engineer issued a letter dated yesterday. Vera's only issue was there was a little section of sidewalk that was only 4 feet wide. I was trying to avoid a hydrant. He asked if we could move the hydrant back a couple feet from the road and do a continuous 5 foot wide sidewalk across the frontage. We're replacing that hydrant anyway, so bring it back a little bit will not be a big deal. So that's something we're going to be able to accommodate. Larry Liebman had a memo dated 5/19. He's the city environmental compliance inspector. And all he asked is that we make sure to maintain the oil grit separator as part of the stormwater management plan, even though that's tied to the sanitary sewer, not storm sewer. And basically what that is, when this project was approved by EIC, they asked that we prepare a stormwater maintenance plan. with this site, which is typical with an EIC application. At that time, we didn't know if we were going to have a floor drains or things like that in the rear building. So we do have an oil water separator for the floor drains in the rear building that's received before the floor drainage goes into the sanitary sewer. So inspecting that once a year is not a big deal. That's kind of typical. Usually what we do is we get on a schedule with the contractor and have that sort of done automatically. And it's pretty typical on sites like this. The engineering department, I'm gonna start sharing my screen because I just want to show you want to show you the sanitary sewer and some of the other issues related to that. So let me share my screen here. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Okay. So as Tom mentioned, we're making drastic improvements to the site. This is a Google Earth image of the site. As you can see, almost the entire site is paved. There's missing sections of sidewalk. We're going to make extensive improvements to the site, the frontage, the landscaping. The sewer line that runs along the banks of the Still River, when the Still River was rechannelized and bent, they moved the sewer line onto the site. We couldn't find it. It took a while, but here's what we found with engineering and public utilities. And it required us shifting the building, the proposed building, to the, sharing my screen here. The sewer line that we discovered was right back here. That manhole is here. So we shifted the building approximately 14 feet to the southeast. It's basically the same exact plan you saw when we submitted last time, with the exception of moving that building to the southeast. So in Kelly's letter, she asked, and Tom has already covered this, that we provide an easement along this section here of the 24-inch sanitary sewer main. And there's another sewer main that sort of runs from the DMV site. This one we actually knew was there because it was an as-built, but there's no main that exists. That's an 8-inch line. She asked for easements being placed around both of those lines. And they've also asked that we, instead of connecting to the 24-inch line, that we connect to the 8-inch line. So that's something that could be accommodated. It doesn't change the site plan in any way, and that we provide easements over those. Let's see. One of her other comments was that when the rear building gets built, that the foundation in the back corner here be set a little deeper than the minimum for frost protection. And that's so someday, if that sewer main ever needs to be dug up, the bottom of the footing is at the same depth of the sewer main, and there's no special precautions that need to be made with respect to undermining the building if that sewer is ever excavated. Ironically, we didn't know that sewer existed, and now we're protecting it, though. But it's nice that we know it's there. And then her last two comments had to do with sprinkler design. They have to do with the rear building, and I'm just not to bore you, but in the road there's two water mains. There's an 8-inch water main and a 12-inch water main. The existing building is connected to the 12-inch water main with its service. The proposed building is also going to be connected to the 12-inch water main. She's just requiring that a fire flow analysis be done for the rear building. One has already been done for the front building. They're fine with it. The front building is currently not non-sprinklered and is going to remain that way, but the rear building will be sprinklered. There are, as I had mentioned, there's an existing fire hydrant in front of the site that we're replacing. And there's another in this landscape island. I'm calling it a landscape island, but it's not technically a landscape island. It's an island that I put there to protect that existing fire hydrant that sort of sits on the property line between DMV and this property. That's a private hydrant. So that the engineering department, one of their previous comments is that we have that inspected and tested, and that's on the plan, and that's something that we're going to do. So again, There were no drainage comments. I do want to mention, in part of the wetlands approval, we're adding a water quality unit to the site to sort of add some benefit to the quality of the stormwater discharge to the Still River. Then Ally had some comments. Ally had a memo dated 5/19, and I just want to touch on some of those. Most of Ally's comments, in fact, all of Ally's comments, they don't impact the site plan. They have to do with amending the zoning table to clarify some uses existing versus proposed. We do have them all listed there with just a little more detail. The next comment had to do with a safety and spill plan. That's something we can do. We don't really anticipate any major material storage outside, but that's something that can be accommodated. Oh, I'm going to go back to engineering. Engineering also asked that we do not store anything on top of this sanitary sewer pipe in the back. So basically, I talked with the owner today. There's no issues with modifying that rear storage area to remove any storage on top of that sanitary pipe. So that outdoor storage area will get slightly smaller to accommodate it. But again, it doesn't change the limits of pavement or the building or anything. It just leaves that area clear. Phasing notes and narratives, we can definitely accommodate that. Oh yes, that's one thing that Tom had mentioned, that the rear building probably will not be built at the same time. So what we did to ensure that we can do this, we've added a phasing line to the plan, which is very common, showing that the site can either be built all at once or in phases. If it's built in phases, we show that we have adequate parking in each phase. If only the front building is done prior to the rear one, that the site can function on its own. As far as the view restrictive fence, we do have a detail on it. I would just like to show it to the commission. That's on sheet is that? I think CO4. And it's a pretty standard detail. We're proposing simply like a 6-foot high chain link fence with the plastic slatting to go through it. It's typical on industrial sites. The rear areas will be screened, and the only area that doesn't need to be screened, it's really optional and up to the owner, would be the front parking area here and along DMV property, because in this area here, we're not having any outdoor storage or equipment, and we're going to have a sliding gate there that will be screened as well. Traffic, I mentioned that Vera asked us to move this fire hydrant back a little because Ally's memo came out before Vera's, so that was one of her comments. And then adding a note about illegal parking on landscape islands and in aisles, that's not a big deal. That can be added. It doesn't change the plan. I do want to note that one thing that also changed since the last application, and this is, I worked this out with construction services in the field before finalizing these plans. The city, and I'm not sure when it was done, but in the last year or so, installed this crosswalk across Triangle Street, right before the bridge. This crosswalk has always existed here. So the only thing that they asked us to do, probably because it wasn't done when the crosswalk was done, the crosswalk was probably done by a painting contractor, is we're putting accessible ramps on both ends of the crosswalk. So we're extending our sidewalk beyond the site to that point, so that crosswalk is accessible. And then we're taking out 3 sections of sidewalk on the other side of the road and depressing it to make it accessible as well. Tom, and one thing that's been added to the plans, I just want to confirm, and it's already been on the plan, and this was a comment from the first review, that there's going to be no earthen materials or concrete, the manufactured concrete, anything like that on this site. This site is just strictly going to be a truck, a trailer, some pieces of construction equipment that's accessory to the uses here. So, and it's a small outdoor storage area. It's not a big one. I do want to go to the landscape plan because I think it's probably the most important part of the site development, and it's going to make the biggest difference. This was done, Ellen Hines is our landscape architect. And as you can see, based on the aerial image that we saw from the beginning, we are completely planting the entire front yard. That's basically a sea of asphalt right now in concrete. We're doing the required landscape island trees. As I mentioned, the only one we're not putting a tree in, but this isn't technically a landscape island, is where this hydrant is in the back. It's because we do not want to put a tree right in front of a hydrant. But again, that's just there to protect the hydrant. And then part of what EIC has required, along the edge of the Still River, there's some invasives that were required to be removed by EICs and a few trees to remain that she wants to make sure they remain. Even though they're not ours, that's something that we are willing to do. Part of Ally's comments from the first review was to make sure we show the site distances on the landscape plan. Those have been added to the landscape plan as part of this submission to show that the plantings do not interfere with the views coming out of the site. And then one item that Ally had also asked in the initial review is to prepare a truck turning plan. We have done that just to show that there's adequate access to the site. Vehicles have the ability to come, turn around, and get back out based on the design vehicles. And the other improvement that I mentioned but didn't show yet, the main drive, currently the driveway is located right here. We're probably doubling its width and adding dedicated right and left turn lanes out of there, which is always helpful. When someone just wants to take a right and someone may be waiting to take a left, it's nice to be able to use that. And we were able to fit that there. We have adequate handicap parking. And that's part of what the building department signed off on. We have handicap parking in the front here, serving the existing building that's going to be expanded. And we have one space in the back. Basically the back space, there's very limited office for that building. And also most of the public parking is out here in front. So we decided to put the second one out front for guests as opposed to behind the gate. And the building department is fine with this layout we have with handicap parking. I'll be happy to answer any questions anyone has. Tom, can you think of anything I missed before I answer any questions?
I don't think so, Ben.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
welcome.
Let's see.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Mr. Attorney Beecher, go ahead.
Just to wrap up our side, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you'll all be able to find that this proposed project complies with the special exception standards. The use and the design are certainly compatible with the neighborhood in this industrial area. There's no traffic or congestion issues at all, and there's no public health, safety, or welfare issues. So that's it. That's my wrap.
Great, Attorney Beecher, thank you. Just a quick question for Ben. I just want to confirm that sewer connection that you discovered that was sort of old and not on any map. That's the one that's the subject of the easement, and that's the one whereby you can't the applicant can't cover it or in any way impede the city's ability to get to that sewer connection. Do I have that right?
Correct. It's the 24-inch one. They don't want us to store vehicles or store materials on top of it. I spoke with the owner today, and he has no issues with that. But the city obviously wants to be able to drive into the site, drive back there, and if they have to pop a manhole, just like they do in the middle of a road or in a parking lot, have the ability to do so. So, but there is no current easement, as Tom mentioned. We moved the building far enough away to be able to provide an easement that won't conflict with the building. But That's the 24-inch one, Arnie.
Yep.
Is an 8-inch main that goes in here, but this goes through a parking area, just like a road, so there'd be nothing stored there anyway. Just park cars.
Thank you for that, Ben. Commission members, anything else for Ben at this time? Mr. Kiokio?
Yeah, Ben, the existing building, is the current tenant gonna take the additional space to that? And I don't see a loading zone or anything like that for that particular building. Is there one there, or is there going to be one, or is there one not needed? What's the story with that?
What I did, Bob, I just showed the bare minimum loading. There's plenty of loading ability. I'll just briefly go over here. We always show the minimum on the site plan, but there is available loading. There's going to be overhead doors here, here,
Oh, okay. Yep.
here, and here, and there's plenty of room in that direction. There are the front building. But actually, that's a very good question. The front building are all at grade overhead doors, so everything's flush at the front building,
Okay.
just like the garage at your house. I hope the garage at your house is flush. I just assumed. The rear building, we have two scenarios. These left two docks are 4-foot high docks that are sort of sunk into the ground, and that's why you see little shallow retaining walls on both sides.
Okay,
This middle door is a 2-foot dock. So for, smaller, lower trucks to be able to come in there, which is one of the reasons you see the handicap ramp in the back of building, in the rear building, is for the person parked in the accessible space to be able to get into get to the ground level of that building. So that basically that rear building is set 2 feet above grade to accommodate the loading docks. But to answer your question, let me show you here. You can see here on the truck turning plan.
yep,
These are tractor trailers that have the ability to back up. And then over on the smaller side of the building, these are more box trucks, 40-foot box trucks that would be able to back in, vans, things of that nature. So we have the ability to load this building from the rear building can be accessed from this side with overhead doors, and the proposed building on this side here with overhead doors. And as far as the tenants, the existing tenants in that front building, they're definitely going to remain. The only question is, do they expand into the new space, or will there be a new tenant or some combination? We're not sure yet. But as Tom mentioned, there is no user for the rear building at this time.
okay, and the addition is basically it's a separate building that's attached, is that how it will be built, or?
It's going to be built. There may be some interconnecting doors and things, along the common wall, depending on, what the tenants end up doing or taking. But yes, it's going to be basically, that's an existing masonry and steel building.
Yep,
So that masonry wall will stay here. And it's going to be up to, we don't have detailed plans of how the internal portions are going to be broken up yet.
yep, okay,
And if they change and then the uses change, we'll have to, come back and get a waiver to site plan if that's the case. But as Tom mentioned, we have surplus parking the way we have it laid out right now. And the site is actually designed in the event someday we need more parking. We can very easily add some along this area here and simply just add another landscape island if we had to. But we don't need that now. This site just has a lot of flexibility if need be.
got it, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to keep talking. We do have existing overhead doors here on the south side of the building where there's plenty of room. And that was, I think you saw that on the
Yep,
vehicle turning plan that trucks currently access here. And they don't always back right in. Sometimes they pull up sideways to access the doors depending on what they're bringing.
yep,
So there's plenty of room on the site. It's by closing that second driveway that's right here, we really wanted to make sure, just to get a sense, We have 90 feet just to the phase 2 line. The buildings itself are over 100 feet away from each other. So there's plenty of room.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you, Ben. Commission
welcome.
members, any other questions for Ben at this particular time? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, there's obviously it's a lot of moving parts on this one, but I think, and Ally, I'll defer to you. We have heard from just about everybody, traffic, construction services, things like that. I know there's a lot of engineering issues. This is sort of an engineering slanted application, but is there anything, Ally, we're waiting for that would prohibit us from closing this public hearing?
No, there are not. And there's no showstoppers, like how we like to say.
Yeah, good. We don't like showstoppers. Okay.
We don't
So
either.
all the issues with the engineer, because I'm seeing all the issues with engineering are okay, and again, nothing that would prevent us from closing. Good to hear that. Commission members, anything else for the applicant? Any other questions for our discussion of any kind? And if there are none, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, I think that was Mr. Kyokyo with the motion, Helen Hofstadter with the second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? I'll entertain a motion to move this to, what would it be? Under old business, it would be item 2. I'm sorry, it would be item 3 under old business for discussion and possible action. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Perry. Second? Second, Kevin. Thank you. Okay, so motion's made and seconded to move this matter to number 3 under old business. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? This item will be number 3 under old business. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Moving along. We have nothing under continuation of public hearings. So we're going to go right to old business for discussion and possible action. 1, 2 GPR owner LP. Application for special exception site plan approval for 1, storage or sale of building materials, section 6A2B15. 2, storage, sale, rental, and or repair of construction equipment, section 6A2B16. 3, truck terminal, warehouse, moving and storage establishment, self-service storage, section 6A2B19. And 4, wholesale distributor, section 6A2B20 in the IL40 zone, 2 Great Pasture Road, K15109, special exception number 754. The draft resolution was distributed to the commission members, and Ally, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, so I'm going to skip over the whereases for this resolution of approval. They're all pretty standard, and you've seen them throughout the staff reports. So skipping to page 4 under the conditions, we have compliance with the EIC issued permit. Number 4 is just that site improvements need to be installed prior to any site operations. Number 5 deals with restricting the outdoor storage areas and making sure that the outdoor storage does not spill into the drive aisles as shown on the site plan. Number 6 is just the storage, sale, and rental is prohibited in the front yard setback. 8 deals with the on-site private hydrant and that the property owner is required to maintain it and making sure it's functional. Number 9 deals with the operation plan and the safety and spill cleanup plan, as the applicant kept the materials very broad because they do not have tenants yet. So once they do have those tenants in place, then they'll be required to submit that operation plan and a safety and spill cleanup plan to the Department of Planning and Zoning and the Office of the Fire Marshal for review. 12 deals with the outstanding engineering staff report. 13 is the floodplain permit. 14 is there's a small retaining wall along a portion of the drive aisle, so over 3 feet in height, that would require additional inspection and reporting requirements. Jumping to 16, the view restrictive fence. And then 17 deals with the easement for the portion of the sidewalk along Great Pasture that is not located in the right of way. And then to 18, this one's a bit complicated just due to the fact that there is that environmental land use restriction on the site, and this was part of the property that Rob Barone had requested to be conveyed to the city, where the applicant had mentioned that we may not want that property conveyed to us due to the environmental land use restriction. So that will be determined by Corporation Council at that date when that paperwork and documentation is figured out. And then the rest of the conditions are the standard conditions. Does anyone have any questions?
So on 18, again, just to confirm, a conveyance is when we take it, we own it. And an
Correct.
easement is we don't own it, we just have access to it. So what we don't want to get involved in is taking any land that might have environmental issues. So I'm looking at the wording, the applicant shall grant an easement and or conveyance. So we're sort of covered there, depending on which way a Corporation Council goes.
Correct.
Okay, good. No, good. Always good to be careful with that. Commission members, any questions for Ally? Mr. Kiokio, go ahead.
Yep, sorry. There's as far as the environmental issues there, I thought there was some ongoing reporting, or as they're doing work, there's some kind of reporting or something like that that the applicant has to do or owner has to do. Is that covered in here, or am I not remembering that correctly?
That will actually be covered in under their EIC permit, so they're required to do additional reporting to Environmental Impact Commission.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Commission members, any other questions for Ally or staff on the draft resolution? And if there are no other questions, I will entertain a motion for approval or denial of the resolution of approval with conditions.
Mr. Chairman,
Helen,
I'll make the motion to approve the application with conditions that are specified in the resolution.
thank you, Helen. Motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Sylvain. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The application is approved.
I
Okay.
just want to thank you, everyone. I know I'm not supposed to speak, and I just want to let you know Scott Sambate's here. He's representing ownership group as well.
Okay,
I want
well,
to say thank you to everyone involved.
and we wish you the best of luck with your project. So, well, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's keep going. Give me a second here, get organized. Item 2, under old business, Bright Ravens IS Danbury LLC, application for special exception site plan approval for hotel conversion to apartment house, mixed use, Innovation Studios Danbury, in accordance with section 5B2B 14 and trip generation greater than 500 vehicle trips per day, section 3E2 in the CA80 zone, 18 Orangebury Road, C15008, special exception number 804. Now, this was distributed, this resolution of approval was distributed. Jen, this was quite an undertaking because sort of a complicated and long resolution. I think the phasing of this project had an impact on the length of the approval. So I know you'll have to sort of walk us through that. So why don't you go ahead?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Jennifer Eminger, Deputy Planning Director. So Ally and I both worked on this resolution. So I'm just going to go through because there's some complexity to it. And given that you'd received it at the end of the day yesterday, I'm kind of I'm gonna walk you through some of the whereases and then get to the conditions of approval. So again, most of, page 1 and 2, standard whereases that summarize the project. Page 3, it's the 5th whereas. Whereas as noted in the project narrative submitted by the applicant, the residential component of the project is proposed to be constructed in 3 phases. And again, these phases, I believe, were discussed during the public hearing as well, and we have a copy of that narrative. So phase 1 includes floors 7, 8, 9, and 10, which also includes 4 affordable units, 1 on each floor, and also the construction of an amenity area on the 10th floor. Phase 2 includes floors 5 and 6, which includes 2 affordable units. And there's the construction of several amenity areas, which include, there's a co-working in the main lobby, an art gallery main lobby. There's a residential gym on the mezzanine, a lounge on the 10th floor, lounge 2, number 2 on the 10th floor. And then that's it for the amenities. And then it also, phase 2 also includes site work related to the construction of the sidewalk that connects the bottom of the site up to Old Ridgeberry. And phase 3, which is the last phase, includes floors 3 and 4, which also includes 4 affordable units. And those remaining amenity areas, which include the restaurant with the outdoor patio and coffee shop, the sports courts, which I believe was basketball and pickleball. And it also includes installation of exterior landscaping. So again, I wanted just to spend a little bit of time because the whereas sets up all the phasing. That's part of the conditions of approval. The remaining whereases, again, it's just standard and describes the process that got us to this point. The bottom of page 4, number 2, this is the standard condition. They have to file the grant of special exception. Number 3, so I'm on page 5 now. Number 3, the affordability plan has to be filed on the land records within 5 days pursuant to section 10 of the affordability plan. And again, upon recording, it needs to be then, a copy needs to be provided to the department within 2 business days. This is all spelled out in that affordability plan. And one of the whereases earlier mentioned that affordability plan was reviewed and signed off by Corporation Counsel, as well as the Health and Human Services Department. Condition number 4, the applicant shall comply with all terms and conditions set forth in the affordability plan. Again, the affordable component, it's a 10% set aside. So you've got 10 total units. Of that, 8 are studios and 2 are 1-bedroom units. Again, equally dispersed throughout the residential component. The second part of number 4 talks about annual certifications that are required. Again, all spelled out in the affordability plan. The remaining conditions are fairly standard. So I'm on page 6, the following action shall be taken prior to any land disturbance or alteration related to site improvements and issuance of any permits. So in this case, verification that the special exception's been filed, the affordability plan's been filed. 13 and 14 conditions, outstanding comments from planning and zoning dated May 5th, as well as the engineering department dated May 5th. So this is the part where we get to the phasing. And typically what you'll see in our resolutions, you'll have standard conditions prior to permits, right? Before any permits are issued by the permit center. Then once construction's complete, then the applicant applies for the certificate of zoning compliance. That's usually everything's done and things need to be inspected prior to COs. So in this case, because the project is phased, we took the approach of actually spelling out what's expected under each phase. So what you'll see, and these are actions required prior to the issuance of the certificate of zoning compliance. Again, these are separated by phase, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And these are generally repeated. They differ slightly under each phase. And again, this is where when I set it up under the whereas, this follows that phasing narrative. So 15, again, prior to the release, the affordable units in floor 7, 8, 9, and 10, I have to provide evidence to, or the Department of Planning and Zoning has to provide evidence to the ZEO that they've complied with the affordability plan for those units that are on those floors. 16, all site work related to parking, loading, refuse removal shall be constructed in accordance with the plans. All directional signage has to be installed. 17, so the open space, what we're expecting is more of a proportion, the open space is in proportion to the number of units. They're not expected to provide all the open space up front. It's based off of the amount of units that are being released per floor. So that's a condition as well. So the ZEO shall verify that adequate open space, so albeit the indoor or the outdoor amenity areas are provided on the site in accordance with the approved plan. 18, we'd ask that the applicant's engineer certify in writing that the on-site drainage system has been cleaned and is functioning. Moving on to phase 2. Again, number 19, this is going to be the same as what you saw in phase 1, but it's specific to floors 5 and 6. Again, making sure that those 2 affordable units comply with the affordability plan. Number 20, I'm on page 7 now. The walkway staircase providing the pedestrian connection shall be constructed. Again, we push that to phase 2. Number 21, again, the same condition we saw in phase 1 about the open space. And then on to phase 3. Again, same condition. This applies to the 3rd and 4th floor. Same with 23 and 24, same conditions we saw in phase 1 and phase 2. 25, this is where all of the right-of-way improvements will be completed. That includes that crosswalk across the on-ramp to 84, which is the ADA ramps as well. They have to relocate a utility pole to make sure there's adequate alignment of the sidewalk. Installation of some concrete curbing, apron along Old Ridgeberry. And then any landscaping that needs to be replaced and planted needs to be completed in phase 3. So, and the remaining conditions are standard. We also, so in our haste of getting this out by the end of the day, Tuesday, Allie and I had a bit of a miscommunication, and the actual exhibit wasn't attached. So Allie's going to share her screen to show the exhibit. And this is what will be incorporated into, we ask that you include, as, a resolution as amended. So this is the exhibit. It includes, again, all of the same maps, plans that were part of the record. It also includes it will include the affordability plan as well. So that's a lot. So I just wanted, we wanted to be thorough in making sure that we took a belt and suspenders approach to the resolution and allowed some flexibility as well for the developer to get those first floors on board. So if you let me know if you have any questions, and I can go through this in more detail.
No, Jen, this was a quite an undertaking. I should say Jen and Ally together as a team. This was quite an undertaking to put this together. Very thorough. Thank you. I know that I was looking in particular for, you know, the affordable housing plan and the affordable units, and those things have been addressed very thoroughly. Then, of course, the open space issues that we talked about since the beginning, those seem to be addressed very thoroughly. It's funny that the right-of-way work is in phase 3. So the last phase, we normally, I think, do that at the beginning, but in this one, we're doing it at the end. I imagine, like you said, Janet, it allows for some flexibility. Is that the thought process there?
It is, Mr. Chairman. Again, typically, a project is, not all the time, constructed in one fell swoop. And before we issue zoning compliance, all the site improvements are completed. In this case, some of the site improvements, including the right-of-way work, it's a heavy lift. There are additional approvals through the state that have to be obtained. We didn't want that to be a hurdle for phase 1 and phase 2.
Good. That's good news. Thank you for clarifying that. Commission members, questions for Jennifer or Ally on the resolution?
Mr. Chairman, I have a sort of a technical one, I guess,
Please.
from about the document. You have a whereas it says let's see, has submitted the affordability plan. And then on page 5, number 3, the applicant shall file affordability plan on City of Danbury land records within 5 days pursuant to section XX of affordability plan. Is that movable? In other words, we don't know section XX, what
That's section 20.
It's actually section 20.
All right, maybe I got an older copy here, but
No,
okay.
that's the actual section is XX. So
Which
it's all
one?
based on Roman numerals.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I went through the same thing. I'm like, oh, I forgot, because we do that. We leave it as a placeholder,
Yeah.
a bunch of X's. In this case, it's truly 2 X's.
Yep, okay. Thank you.
No, I thought the same thing. I thought they X something out, because that's what you do when you revise a document, you X things out. But it's been a while since I've brushed up on my Roman numerals, but that's
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, you guys are thorough, and so I should have
so good.
doubted that.
Commission members, any other questions for Ally and Jen on the resolution? Okay, hearing none. Again, as Jen said, there was an amendment we attacked to the end of it. So if there is a motion to approve the resolution of approval with conditions as amended, please, whoever would like to make that motion. Ellen?
All right, I'll go for it. What the heck? So I'll make a motion to approve the application with the conditions specified and also as amended in the resolution document.
Thank you, Helen. Motion to approve the resolution of approval with conditions as amended. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Perry. Second. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Right?
Opposed? The resolution of approval with conditions as amended is approved.
Thank you.
Good luck, PJ. Wish you the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Greatly appreciate it. Look forward to working with the staff and the commission. So thanks again.
Thanks, PJ. Okay, we're going to keep moving, folks. As you know, we closed our public hearing. We moved that to item 3 so we could have a brief discussion. I'll just read it again. JAR Associates LLC application for special exception site plan approval for 1 metal fabrication section 682B11, 2 indoor and outdoor storage of construction equipment section 3E4 682B15, 3 indoor and outdoor storage of building materials sections 3E4 and 682B16, and 4 warehouse use section 682B19 in the IL40 zone, 4 Lemak Avenue, K14122, special exception number 796. Commission members, any thoughts or input to staff on this particular application? None. Okay, nobody has any. I'm kidding. It's good. Well, I'll start out. I'll say something. I mean, I'm in favor of it. Again, this is an old section of Danbury, as we all know. I mean, a real old section of Danbury, and to the point where they didn't even know the sewer was there or the manhole or something. They found it. I still can't quite figure out how, but I'm glad they did. And it looks like the site is going to be cleaned up. It'll look better. There'll be landscaping, a new building, new sidewalks, a new crosswalk. So I just think we're taking an old section of Danbury, and the use is certainly compatible in the IL40. So I'm good with it. Anyone else want to weigh in?
Mr.
I would
Chairman?
agree. Sorry, go ahead, Helen. Sorry.
I wanted to just add to what you say. I agree with what you just said, and I found that that the engineering over the overall engineering design and all took careful or a lot of care in completing what some of which were unforeseen issues like the main that was found or had to be found. And it looks to me like it's a great improvement for the site overall and a good addition to downtown Danbury.
Thank you, Helen. Perry?
I would agree. It seems like a real improvement to the area, especially some of the, frills in terms of it's better for pedestrians, better in terms of being more aesthetically pleasing, keeping some of those trees I heard. I mean, it sounds like the whole area is going to look better, going to be more organized and be able to be utilized better. So sounds
Thanks,
good to me.
Perry. Anyone else? Everybody else okay? Bob?
Yeah, I agree. Nothing else to add. I think it was covered completely, so I'm fine.
Kevin, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you. Okay, well, staff, you have your guidance. Looks like everyone's looks favorably upon this particular application. Okay, we're going to move right to our referrals. We have one 8-3A, I'm sorry, we have two referrals this evening. One is an 8-3A referral. Petition for Walid Al-Bakri. I'm sorry, Walid, I apologize. I'll get it sooner or later. Planning Director to amend Section 2B, 4A, 2A, 4B, 2A, 4C, 2A, 4D, 4A, 4E, 4A, 4F, 4A, excuse me, 8C4, 6B, and 10D of the zoning regulations to add to listing of permitted uses in each residential zone, amend definition of family childcare homes and group childcare homes, and add as permitted uses to each residential zone to ensure these uses are treated the same as single and multifamily uses in the residential zones. Zoning Commission public hearing is scheduled for May 27th, 2025. The petition with the proposed amendment and language was distributed as well as a planning department staff. And I believe, Walid, you're going to walk us through this one. All yours.
Good evening. And I know that my name can be challenging. I mean, my last name, but it's okay.
Sorry about that.
Before I start, I'll just share my screen with you. Give me a minute here. And please, I'm having some technical issues, so if I cut off, I will get back. So, can you all see my screen here?
There it is.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so tonight I would like to talk with you about new regulations for childcare in residential areas. If you look at the screen I have here closely, you will see I have screenshots from the legal document from the state. Before I talk about the actual regulations, I would like to give you a little bit of background to know why we are doing or we are proposing the amendment. I'm going to move on to the second slide here.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm having some technical difficulties, so bear with me all. I actually went too far ahead of myself. Okay, so to give you a little bit of background, so back in 2023, the state had new laws. What it boils down to is the following. The state had two definitions. One is titled Family Child Care Facility, which is basically serving up to 6 children, usually within the house, or it could be an apartment. Another definition that was adopted by the state and it's became law in 2023 was group child care homes, which is a definition for if you have between 7 and 12 kids, usually it will be a small facility in a residential area. So what did the law or the new law said? It said basically you cannot treat the family child care home or the group child care facility any differently from how you treat single family or multi-family. So basically what it means is in the zoning regulations all over Connecticut, if a single family is permitted, then these uses are permitted. If multi-family is permitted, these uses must be permitted as well. And if you look at the second bullet here on the slide, it says what I just said now, is that you cannot treat any of these definitions, the two definitions differently from how single family and multi-family are treated in the zoning regulation, anywhere in Connecticut. So that takes us to what our zoning regulations in Danbury said. So as we speak now, in our zoning regulations, we don't have a definition for family child care home. We don't have one. What about group child care? We do have one, but it's outdated and it's not consistent with the new law that was adopted in 2023. So we did not amend our zoning regulations after the new law came into effect. So last year and the year before, we had to report to OPM. OPM stands for Office of Policy Management, which is a state office, saying we are not in compliance. However, we have a timeline to be in compliance before the end of this year. So what happened? The law, I mean the state law, is not clear-cut. It has a lot of sections that are not very clear, so it took a lot of time between planning and corporation council not to copy the regulations, because if we copy it, it will not be consistent with the language we have in our zoning regulation. The intent was to include all the clauses, I mean the intent of the law, the state law, into our zoning regulation using the language of our zoning regulation. That's why it took some time. So if I move on to the next slide, I will share with you here the definition that we are proposing. I'm going to pause here for 2 minutes, but the gist that you need to get is family child care home is up to 6 children. Group child care home is between 7 and 12. And I will pause here so you can have a chance to go over the two definitions. Are we good, or do we need more time?
I think we're good, Waleed. You can keep going.
Okay. So in addition to the definition, we also went over all what is considered as residential zoning districts to make family child care and group child care as permitted uses. We ensured that the parking requirements are the same as the ones for single family or multi-family. We also went over the site plan section to make sure that no site plan application would be required unless we are talking about either family childcare or group childcare within a multifamily over 3 units. Because as we speak in our zoning regulation, site plans are only required for development that have 4 dwelling units or more. Having done that, basically what I can summarize is that the proposed regulations are consistent with POCD, because POCD or any document the city has to be consistent with state law. So what we are trying to do now is just to be consistent and in compliance with the state law. With that, staff recommends approval, and I would love to hear your feedback if you have any, or if you need any clarification, let me know.
Yeah, Waleed, I have no issues because this is required as per state law. So we don't have a lot of leeway here. We kind of have to amend our regulations to be in compliance with state law. And I guess we just drafted our own wording so that it's contemporary with the wording in our regs. But I mean, I know that they still have to have licenses. I mean, if you want to have childcare, daycare, the state of Connecticut requires a license, whether it's a family or group. But I guess the thing about these group homes is you could have up to 12 kids, which seems like a lot of kids. But there really isn't anything different we can do from a planning and zoning perspective in terms of driveways or traffic or anything like that. It's just allowed, right? Just strikes me as a little odd that maybe in the licensing phase, they check these things. So you have adequate traffic and adequate access to and from the house and stuff like that, because we can't do it from a planning and a zoning reg perspective, correct?
Correct. So to your point, I know that the licenses and state requirements did not change. However, to the best of my knowledge, you don't look at planning or zoning or driveway aspects. It's more about safety, fire code, and that stuff. So in essence, what the state is doing is saying, hey, we have a big issue in the state. We don't have enough places for children. We must do something. This is what they came up with. And they said, you have to do it. You have to follow it. You don't have a way out of it. You like it or not, the state is not interested in how you like it or not.
Okay. No problem. I mean, that's that. I just was making an observation. I know that we have no ability to override state law. We're not that powerful, but it just seemed 12 kids is a lot of kids. Any other questions for Waleed, commission members? Any thoughts? Bob?
I agree with a lot of your comments. Hands are tied here a little bit, but I was just looking at the definitions, and in the family child care home definition, it talks about the number of hours, but in a group home, it doesn't, as far as I can see. Is there a reason for that?
That's a very good one. The reason is because this is basically from a tweak of the definition that came from the state. Yeah. And I'm actually trying to go back over the hours. I know the hours, this is for family, because usually the family one is usually within a dwelling unit, be it a standalone house or a multifamily. The group child care is usually similar to a business, however, it's located in a residential area. That's basically when I talk to OBM, which is the office responsible for policy. That's what they mentioned.
So a group child care home cannot be in a residential building, but it can be in a residential district.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. And so the family child could be in a residential building within okay, that's why I got it. Okay, thank you.
However, just to be clear, the group child care home is usually a standalone, like think of visualize or picture a small location in a residential area. It cannot be in a commercial area if it is to follow under these definitions.
Yeah. I guess so. In my home, I could have a group child care home, right?
No, you can have a family child care home.
Can I can't have a group child care home?
It will be, usually it is within a non-residential building.
Well,
Usually, but
You look
yeah.
at the, yes, yes.
Oh.
So that's the difference.
Yeah.
If you look at the first sentence for the
Okay.
definition,
So it cannot be in a residential home.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
That's what allows for more children at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions for Waleed?
I guess just to kind of go on what you had, your comments, Arnie. So, the licensing requirements would cover things like, is there adequate room in the house for like young children? They want to take naps, they should have, there has to be so much room and all this kind of thing. So all of that gets covered in licensing, not, of course, not here, because I don't see it here.
Under the state.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Helen. Any other questions for Waleed? I'd like to make a motion to move 12 screaming children into Bob Chiocchio's house, please. Go ahead for a second. That was a joke, everybody. That was a joke.
Might be a good business. You never know. There's a lot of demand.
I'm glad no one seconded it.
All right, folks. Well, I'll entertain a positive or negative referral on this 8-3A. Choose wisely.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for a positive referral.
Thank you, Bob. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Second, Perry. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Opposed? This matter gets a positive referral. And then again, this next 824 referral, May City Council Agenda Item number 14, request to rename Wallingford Road to Sadler Road. Seems a little odd. This is a planning issue, but I guess it is. So who's going to speak to this one?
I will.
Okay, Jen.
Waleed, can you stop sharing your screen?
Sorry, my bad. I will.
No, that's okay. Okay, so City Council referred item number 14, which is the request to rename Wallingford Road to Sadler Way. My staff report was pretty straightforward. The only thing that I mentioned is that Wallingford Road is served by 3 properties. Mercedes, which you all are quite aware of. Grenadier, which you're also aware of because you did the approval for that one as well. And then there is an airport business at the end of that. So 3 properties with driveways are served on Wallingford Road. Renaming to Sadler Way, it was advocated by the airport administrator. There's a long history with the Sadlers and felt it was it honors their contributions to the city with respect to airport operations. Staff has no objection to the renaming of the road.
Thank you, Jen. Not sure who the Sadlers are, but good for them. I'm sure there's a story behind that, but
there is, yeah.
All right, well, we'll skip to any questions for Jen? Anything else on this? Seems pretty straightforward. And if there's none, I'll entertain a motion for a positive or negative referral.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for a positive referral.
Positive referral. Thank you, Bob. Do I hear a second? Second, Kevin. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, we just referred positive referral to rename Wallingford Road to Sadler Way. It is shorter, isn't it? Good. Okay. There are 2 other 838 referrals, which, as you can see, commission members on our agenda are both going to be discussed at the June 4th meeting. For the sake of brevity, I won't read these 2 into the record. You could see what they are. But there are some fairly long, particularly the second one has a lot of pieces to it. So, of course, feel free to call Waleed or Jen or whoever to prior to that meeting to go through them if you're interested. But just make note of those 2 838 referrals on our agenda this evening. There's one item under new business you can take a look at. 100 Mill Plain Road investors. Public hearing for that one is June 18th. We have nothing under correspondence. Jen, Allie, am I forgetting anything? Are we good?
I think you're good, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, good. All right. Unless there's anything else, commission members, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Helen. I think Perry had his hand up for a second. Is
go
there
ahead,
any-
go ahead.
Thank you, Perry. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Good
Thank you.
work.
Thank
Good work.
you.
Nice job.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.